Leave. No, got it. Yeah, thank you. Can everyone hear me very clearly?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. So, like I said yesterday, this is just a prep for the core course, which is the project planning. But the main thing is we need to be familiar with the project environment and know how it works. And from there, we will know where a planner comes in and do his job to help the project to reach its goal. So that's why we went through what we went through yesterday, and up to now we're doing it like, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so we were talking about the project life cycle, and we got here yesterday, I believe, before I said, if you've got any question, we can start asking. Now, before I start, does anyone have any question? Maybe you've had a rethink last night and maybe you wanted to ask a question, but you forgot what you wanted to ask, and now you've got a question. Then we can, you're okay to ask a question now, and then we carry on. Any question before we move on? Any question? Right. I believe nobody has any question. So, like I said, you need to understand the project environment, the project life cycle itself, and where you come in to help the project to get delivered. So that's why we need to understand the project life cycle. I know I'm just saying this based on my experience. I know we've got different level of experience here, and some people might have done might have been involved in projects at different stages in the past. So, but this will give you what I want to achieve here is to be able to tell you where, as a planner or as someone asked yesterday, a scheduler, where do you come in and how do you help the project to get to a successful end. So are we mute? I can hear somebody was trying to ask a question. Is that correct? Or so now the project life cycle, as I explained yesterday, goes from initiation to planning, to monitoring and execution, to monitoring and control. Then finally, you can close the project. This represents a graphical illustration of how the cycle is, where it goes from initiation to close out. So I'll be showing some other animation to show you how this work, and I will explain to you how this cycle flows. So we talked about this yesterday. So the project life cycle. So what does it entail? What do they do at each phase? Because this is a phase. This is combination of phases during the project life cycle, during the course of the project. So the first one will be you initiate a project. So this is where people come together and start saying, okay, how do we want to accomplish this project? Do we have enough money? Do we have enough capacity to do this project and all that? You start identifying the risk and everything that could help the project to be successful, and anything that would stop the project from being successful or from even being awarded at all. You start, mind mapping at this stage. Then the next stage is the planning stage, which all these stages, let me just come out, will be explained further in the next slide. So you will see that. what do you do at each stage? So during the initiation, then, like I said, you define the scope. So what's the scope of the job that we're gonna do? What are in scope? What is not in scope? But someone was trying to ask me yesterday, was asking me about business analysis and planning. So in business analysis, if you've done it before, or if you're training as a business analyst, you will be able to identify scope. What is in scope and what is not in scope. In planning too, in project life cycle, you get involved as a planner, you get involved at this stage, looking at, okay, based on the contract document, what do we need to cover? What do we not need to cover? If I say, can you do my garden? Do my garden might be just cutting the grass and leave. It might be cut the grass, dress the flowers, wet the flowers. So this is where, at this stage, this is where you look at a contract document and think, okay, what do we have in scope and what is not in scope? And if you are the one teaching the job out, if you are the sponsor, you know, this is where you look at your business case and develop the business case and look at everything that you put in your business case. How you want to achieve it. So the next stage will be planning. Because it said plan, it doesn't mean that this is where you will start getting involved. You will get involved at the initiation stage or kickoff stage or the initiation stage. So then you move to planning. You start identifying the milestones. What are the outputs at the end of the day? Then you identify if you have money, if you have enough budget to be able to execute the project. Then resources, human resources, machinery. Do you have the capacity in terms of resource? Do you have the right skill to be able to execute the journey, the project successfully? Then once you know that you have the right, you'll be able to you will need to identify who has the right skill in your company to be able to do this job. It's not because, oh, there are human beings in my company, anybody can do the job. No, you will get involved from the stage of identifying, okay, where do we get the money from? Where are the people with the right skill to do the job? Then you have a live document, which is called, risk register. So you will at this point, from this point, don't let me say at this point, from this point, you start identifying the risk in the project. You start putting it into that register. So I won't go into more detail about that. You put every risk register is a live document throughout the life cycle of a project. So everybody gets involved. If you see it, just see it, or if you see it, write it in the register, put it in the register, and put the actions, who is going to action it, and how do we mitigate against that risk. Then you identify the stakeholders, who are going to be the key stakeholders in this project, because you could have so many managers in your company, and they will assign some of them, or some skilled people like the engineer, electrical engineer, whatever. This is where they will identify who is going to do what, who is going to be involved in this particular project. And they are the one you will go to at some point as a planner to maybe probably do interview or do workshop with, to gather information that you will need to put into your document, which is a schedule that you will be a custodian. So at the end of this planning, you will try and see the impact. You will undertake kind of impact assessments and everything that what you put together, what is going to be the end point? If I have these, what are the impact they're going to have on these projects? You've identified human, you've identified your milestones. If your milestone move, what is going to happen? All these things, this is where you will do the job at the planning stage. So, and at the end of the day, because of the PID, which is the project initiation document, but at this point, this is where you will develop your schedule as well. The plan you will develop, the plan you will set as a baseline to monitor the progress of the project, to monitor and control the project throughout from the execution to the end. So at this stage, which is the execution stage or delivery stage, because sometimes as a planner, they might employ you as a tender planner, and sometimes they will employ you as a contract execution planner, or they call you delivery planner. At that point, the delivery planner, like what was said yesterday, that someone that will come in, the plan is ready, all you want to do is to progress, monitor, and report onward. So at this point, this is where you will start monitoring what you've planned. We said we're going to do A, B, C, D in month 8. Are we doing it? You start monitoring it. Then if they're not doing it, because we have a document that says, at this point, we're going to do A, B, C, D. At this point, we're going to do B, C, D, F. So you as a planner, you will start monitoring. Did they do it? What is the progress? If they've done it, what did they earn? If they said they've done something, they've spent so much hours, so you spent 5 hours, did you earn that 5 hours? That is your job as a planner. You start asking those questions based on the data given to you. And what you will do after getting the progress, you start communicating that to the SMT or to whoever that you are reporting to. You might be reporting to a program director. You might be reporting to even the project manager. You might be, this is where you gather that information, put it in your PCs, run your software, and your software will produce some reports, which at the beginning, they would have predefined what sort of reporting they want from you and at what interval. So they might say every 2 weeks, produce a report of where we are in the project. So every 2 weeks, we want to see you do presentation. Come to the SMT meeting, the senior management team meeting. I want you to present. This is where you will be reporting against the baseline, against what you planned in that phase of planning, in the planning phase, that you'll be reporting against that. And in some organizations, they like to review like lessons learned, what they've learned so far at every stage of the project. Some do wait to the end, then they will sit down in one single room and say, okay, in this project that we've just done, what did we do well? What did we not do well? So they will look at what they've done well, what they did not do well, and who did well in terms of suppliers, because during this stage you have people supplying different things, even human resources. Some suppliers would fail to supply at the right time, and some of them will fail woefully. So this is where you review what you've done. You look back and do the lessons learned. But some look at it, do the lessons learned at every stage of the project, every phase, planning initiation phase, planning phase, execution phase. They will sit down at the end of each, or they could have weekly meeting to review what they've done last week. But some wait to the end, and they will definitely do meetings during this phase, but some wait to the end to do the overall lessons learned. So at the end of the day, once everything is done, then you close out the project. Then that project goes into archive. So when next you need to do, or your company needs to do something similar, then they can take that template, bespoke it to whatever, because project, like we said, projects are unique. So they will bespoke it to a similar project they want to do, and they will take it from there. Any questions so far? So the next thing we will be talking about, I've mentioned these regarding the success of the project. If you were in class yesterday, can someone remind me what I said, or can someone remind us what I said about what success of a project depends on?
You mentioned that good evening.
Good evening, thank you.
Yeah, you mentioned that the quality is constant.
Yeah. I think your network. Okay. Can anyone else hear her? Because I can't.
Sorry?
Okay, I can hear you now.
Sorry?
I can hear you now. Go ahead, please.
Okay. You mentioned the quality is constant, but the time and costs varies depending on the objective of the project and what the project wants from the beginning.
Thank you. That's brilliant. So that's fantastic. Thank you very much. Because the project, like the success of a project is predetermined and depends on the sponsor, what he wants at the end of the day. The output and the outcome, that's his target. So he would define the project based on what he wants. So at the end of the day, it could be costs, it could be time. The quality remains constant. So the quality, you said, this is the quality I want. This is how I want my house to look like at the end of the day, once you refurbish it. But I want to stay within this cost, this budget. Oh, I don't mind, but I just want, I need to move into that house before Christmas. I don't care how much it costs. So the success depends on these triangular constraints. So, like I mentioned regarding the success of the project and all that, even at that, during projects, when you want to deliver a project, you need to manage the sponsor or the client's expectation. Their expectations might be so, like, I'm working on a project now, the client is so demanding. And that is peculiar, because as a planner, you could work for a client, you could be on the client side, and you could be on the contractor side. If you're on the client side, it really is good. Well, let me say it's good for you, because your life will be, it will be easier for you, because all you're doing is you are like a policeman looking for faults. As a planner, you're just looking, okay, I'm going to take your planning, I will review your plan, I will look for faults. That's all you're looking for. You're looking for, okay, where is the shortcomings? Then if you find the shortcomings, then you can start querying that person, challenging that person. But if you're on the contractor side, you'll be the one doing the dirty job, and you'll be at the mercy of the client planner, because the expectations, you need to manage the expectation. This is what we expect you to give us. At this point, we expect you to give us this. At this point, we expect you to do this. And you would try as much as possible. Being a project manager and being a planner, you would try as much as possible to manage the expectation. It could be difficult when you are, based on my experience, I'm speaking from my experience now. If you're working for a contractor, you will be on the hot seat, but because a lot of challenges will come your way, but you will develop your skill very quickly. You will know so much because you are doing the dirty job. You are putting your hand into so many things. You are trying to satisfy and meet the expectations. Why, if you're on the client side, you feel relaxed, and if you could be there for ages. And some people, that's why some people will just sit there. They won't. You will see them. They will say they spend 7 years, 8 years. You know, they're doing the same thing. You won't develop yourself. Based on my experience, I'm talking from my experience. So, but if you work on the client side, you will be on the hot seat. But because loads of challenges are coming to your way, you will develop very quickly because you'll be forced to develop. You'll be forced to learn things very quickly. And at the end of the day, if you now move to the client side, oh my God. So there's nothing a contractor planner wants to put before you, because you know all the games. You will spot everything very quickly, and they'll be looking at you and say, "Oh, this guy is a champion," but you've paid your dues. So, but anywhere you find yourself is good. Don't let me discourage you. Anywhere you find yourself on the contractor side, good. You find yourself on the client side, good. So, but the bottom line is you need to manage the expectations. So, like I said, this class is going to be an interactive class. So, there are different types of project management methodologies. Can someone tell me anyone that you know? I mean, can someone help me?
There's
Agile.
waterfall, there's agile.
Thank you.
Yeah. There's waterfall, there's agile, there is
Sorry, who's talking? Can I know your name?
somebody
Your name?
talk. Oh, this is
Yes,
Daniel. Somebody talk.
Oh,
before.
Daniel. Okay. So could you tell me the difference between both? The one you've mentioned.
Okay.
Waterfall, agile.
So for waterfall, it follows a sequential process. Waterfall is more like, it's like a cast in stone kind of methodology. One step after the other. If one step is not done, we don't move on to the other. So it's more like you already have predefined steps that you need to take for the project. So we have to do this after, like is like you're building a wall. You're building a wall, and then for each wall, so you place one block on each other till you have a full wall. So waterfall, just like the name waterfall, it
Okay.
flows down. So everything is already cast in stone.
Okay.
Whereas for agile is an evolving methodology. More like, agile works with iterations where you break the project down into different pieces, and the different pieces can be worked on differently depending on what you want to achieve at the moment. So it's like you want to build a phone, right? And then, for you to build the phone, you've said, okay, we need all these parts to get this phone ready. So you have a team working on the screen, you have a team working on the speaker, you have a team working on the mouthpiece, you have a team, they're working differently. So, and then their work is not really dependent on each other, though there are also dependencies, in some cases, but they can, easily work. And then each of them, they're able to bring out like for each one that is working, they're able to bring out a working part of that project. So I guess that's what
Great.
it can explain it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Can someone else tell us what advantage they've got over each other?
With waterfall, there's heavy documentation, but with agile, there's minimal documentation.
Okay, good. Another one. The key one.
With agile, it's more about people interaction. With waterfall, it's about processes.
Good. I'm looking for one. I'm looking for the risk.
So with waterfall, a project might, at the end, might not be fit for purpose, but with Agile, you can quickly change things because you're doing it in iterations. So you're able to respond to changes quickly, as opposed to waiting to the end before you do. Yeah.
Thank you so much. That was a good lecture. Thank you. So you've said it all. So like the animation in front of you, what's showing and all that. So in planning, most sectors, so we have so many sectors that you can be what's it called, project planner that requires a planner. So in rail, nuclear, what's it called, oil and gas, and some other infrastructural sectors like defense and aviation, submarine, that includes defense and all that. Most of these sectors, they use waterfall methodology. While in IT, where you develop software, where there are lots of iteration, which, like you said about iteration or iteration, whatever the pronunciation is. So the main difference, people look at the risk, because even despite waterfall has more risk than Agile. Just take, for example, if you're building a house and the foundation is faulty and you've roofed the house, you've done everything, what would happen? You know, you did the foundation, did the structures, put everything down, and at the end of the day, what do they call it? Integrity test happens, and they found out that the foundation is faulty because the foundation wasn't tested, right? Wasn't tested properly. So you will have to demolish the whole house, and that has a very high cost implication. Well, in Agile, you build test, you move forward, build test. Although in waterfall as well, what the focus is on is they call something stage gates, or some people call it phase gates or phase stage or whatever. But what happened, what they're trying to describe is at interval or at the end of each phase, we will have a gate with padlock. If we've said we're going to do 5 things, they might set a threshold of 80% achievement before they can open the next, before they can open the gate and go to the next phase. So in that regards, you can say, okay, we are testing, we are checking, okay, have we done all these? Are they okay? Up to 80%, then the remaining 20%, we can manage that. Then we open that gate, then we move to the next stage. But if you look at what they've done up to 80% that they've not tested, if anything is faulty, maybe at 10% of what they've done, then they will have to demolish everything. So that's the risk in there. However, having said that, most projects in all these sectors I've mentioned, apart from IT, they still prefer to do waterfall. They still adopt waterfall as their method of planning out. Like you said, it has heavy documentation, but I don't want to go, I'm not an expert here, but I just want to let you know that most organizations, most sectors have, you go to oil and gas, you go to nuclear, go to rail, they adopt waterfall methodology. That's what they use. But I've worked when I was working in one of the government establishments, they're trying to migrate from one one software to the other. They were using Agile, and these even in the IT sector, it depends on the project manager. The project manager decides which methodology he wants to adopt. A project manager might be working in this sector and decide to adopt a waterfall methodology. Because when I was working for this government, ministry, some of them are using waterfall, some of them are using Agile. So it depends, but the commonest one that you will meet anywhere you go, apart from most IT, would be waterfall. So the next thing is, sorry, I keep dumping. The next thing is, what do you understand? Would somebody tell me how you would describe a project manager? What does he do? What do you think they do? Anyone?
Hello, good evening, everyone.
Good evening, sir.
Okay, I think the project manager is the one in charge of the project, is the one that gets the plan on, interface between the project owner and the other stakeholders of the project. So he's the one that coordinates every activity pertaining to the project, and from the beginning to the ending of the project.
Thank you very much. That was a good one. I was looking for a word there. Coordinate. He manages them. He coordinates them. So that's what a project manager, he's got his skill that helps to manage everyone working, all the stakeholders. When you hear stakeholders, what does the stakeholders mean to anybody? Anybody? And anybody want help me with
Any person that has interest in the project. So at team level, project level, it can be an external person, as long as there's an interest in the success of that project. Come the stakeholder.
Okay. If someone is digging in front of my house to get a cable to the other side, am I a stakeholder?
I'm sorry, say that again.
If someone is digging the road in front of my house to get cable to the other end of the street, that's a project, isn't it?
That's
Am I a
correct.
stakeholder?
Yes.
Why?
So being here in the UK as an example, if let's say Thames Water, they're carrying out anything that is on my street, they will reach out to everybody to say this is what they're about to do. Services might be disrupted, you might be inconvenienced. So at one level, they will interact with people living there. So it's only if it doesn't affect anybody's, then they might not reach out. But for the fact that they'll send me a letter to just their resident, you might be impacted by roadblocks or whatever. So I believe that makes me a stakeholder.
Yeah, that makes me a stakeholder. Thank you very much. Oluseyi, can you go ahead, please?
All right, in the context of projects management, I think stakeholders are those that have critical say or critical influence on the success or otherwise of the project.
Okay. In the example I gave, does that make me a stakeholder, what you've just defined?
I don't think so.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody has any contrary view? Oluseyi said no.
I think it does. I think
Sorry?
it's a stakeholder. I think it
Okay,
does.
why?
Because you are part of the project.
No, this is my house. I don't have anything to do with the cable. I did not give out the cable, I did not, but they dig in the cable in front of my house to get to the other street. So that does that make me a stakeholder? Who was the first speaker? Who was the first speaker? Sorry, what's your name? I know Oluseyi. What was it? The person that first answered. What's your name, please?
It's Arthur.
Arthur.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Arthur. So the last person that was talking, what's your name, please?
Elias.
Okay. Did you say I'm a
I said I
stakeholder or
think
I'm not?
you're a stakeholder because you are part of that project. You are working on that project.
I'm not working on that project. I
Aspect of
said
it.
someone is digging a cable across in front of my house and it's trying to, I don't know them. So I just saw them. I just opened my door and saw them doing that.
Oh, he's not working on the project. He's just an external person.
Yeah, I just saw them. You know, when sometimes you open the front of your door and you see some people doing some things in front of, on the street.
Okay, well, I think in that case, I would say he's not a stakeholder. That person is not a stakeholder
Okay,
because
thank
he's
you.
not part of the project.
Thank you. Any other person that has a contrary view? Daniel?
Well, from the explanation you give, that person is not a stakeholder. However,
Okay, why?
if the project affects my house in any way, then I become a stakeholder in that project. But if it's just like a work that they are doing, they are passing it through my streets and it doesn't affect me in any way, it doesn't disrupt my service or anything. Like they might even do it. If I didn't come out, I probably wouldn't even notice that they did it. Then I'm not a stakeholder.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you very much. These are, that's why I like a very interactive class. People say what they think about things. Some of us will be will be a bit wrong, and some of us will be right. Right. Thank you for your contribution. I will say, Daniel and Atom, you are right. The reason is you made mention of something if it affects me. Because you're walking in front of my house, even, maybe you've noticed when they're doing any construction near your house, by 7 p.m., those trucks will stop working because of the noise pollution. And they would tell them that this is the decibel, that's the unit of noise that they want. Anything above that, if you are reported, we will come and suspend or seal that site. So because that noise will be affecting people around that place, they have vested interest in what you're doing, have vested interest in who is walking in front of my house. It might be some dodgy people that are doing something that try to do surveillance where they will come and say something is affecting me. So anybody that has vested interest in that project, either external or people, the core team working on that project, or people that will be affected. That's why when you go to a community to do something like Atham said, they will write letter. Like if someone is trying to do extension to his house beside your house in your street, council will write letter to everyone and ask them their opinion. It doesn't mean if you said, no, stop him. It doesn't mean the council will stop him. The council will notify everybody that these guys trying to do these things. I know it will one way or the other affect you guys. So I want your suggestion. Yeah, your neighbor, your very best friend might tell the councillor, no, that thing is gonna affect. I've just my wife. We just had a baby, so we don't want anything like that. We don't want noise. But that will not stop council from stopping that guy from doing the extension. This is an experience. I'm saying that someone said that because you want to do extension. So I've got a baby. So they'll stop him from doing the extension. So they are stakeholders in that regard. So anything that affects you, you know, even if any project that you have vested interest in, you might not have significant say to stop or start the project or influence anything, but you have vested interest in that. You are a stakeholder. But in this case, this is where the project manager will manage the core team, the sponsors, and the external, the community. It's his job to manage all these people. And he needs a good skill to be able to manage these people in terms of communication, effective communication, giving them timeline, giving them, notifying them ahead of what you're going to do. He manages people. He manages the core people in his team and manages external. He negotiates when there are some jobs outside where you will need, maybe a rail track wants to go through a farmland. The farmer will come, they call them landowner. They will come, oh, if you want to lay this thing across my farm, go and bring $1 million or £1 million. So he has to be able to negotiate along with his commercial manager and do all the negotiation. That is one of the skills. He must be able to know his budget. Because when you start working on a project, and that is one of the things you must learn as a planner. When you start working on a project, some people will want to outsmart you, and that's going to affect you, and you must be able to raise that with the key stakeholder or the team lead that is managing that discipline. Take, for example, when you were planning your project, you budgeted for 5 people to work on a particular job, or you said this job, or maybe you are excavating something that said it's going to take 5 days for us to do it. And based on 5 days, which we're going to go into, I'm just giving an overview. Each person that is going to work on it will collect £50 a day. So that is £250. Now, during the execution phase, you now saw 6 people there, or 7 people working on, and they need to get paid. So your budget, if you have 6 people, you've gone to £300. So when you are looking at your plan, and maybe the engineering team leader said, okay, we need more people, you will need to allow the commercial manager. This is what the engineering lead said, I need 7 people, but we've only allowed for 6 people, or I need 7 people, we've only allowed for 5 people. You need to speak to your project manager, or you go straight to the project manager. This is what is happening, because he's the one thinking about the budget. Because at the end of the day, in some area, in some organization, the project manager get bonuses. So he'll be thinking, I don't want to go there, because once you have a project, they have a margin from the markup they've done. So they have a profit margin. And the more people you didn't budget for, and they are on the job, the more your profits get eroded. So you as a planner, it's your job when someone tells you that, no, okay, I need to inform the project manager or the commercial manager, was this budgeted for, or was this allowed for when we were planning this project? So it leads and organize, with the support of project support officer, or we have them the admin. Then he's always wearing a problem-solving cap, always thinking ahead, always trying to make sure everything works smoothly. But as we know, projects are never smooth. So then these are the things he does as well. So he's thinking about deadline, thinking about all these things to be able to manage that project to a successful end. So now we're going into planning. So we've left project management. Let me, any questions so far? So before we go into planning, any questions so far? Okay.
So sorry, I have a question. So is the project planner not involved in that initial stage we just talked about?
Which initial stage? Which stage? Which one?
Like the initial
Initiation.
initiation stage. Yep.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. That's a good question. Project planner gets involved in every stages, even right from pre-contract award stage, which, you know, is all about the pre-contract award stage is the standard stage where somebody said, oh, I want to build a house. If you are an expert, can you submit your tender? Call it ITT, invitation to tender. Okay, submit your tender. Let me look at how you're going to do it. So at this stage, even the contract has not been awarded to the company. That's why I made mention you could be employed as a tender planner. If you go on Google, if you go on Indeed.com or you go on Google, you type tender planner, that could be your job. Solely tender, you attend to tender. Some tender, you submit it and you won't get awarded. Some tender, you submit it, you get awarded. So what the tender stage is saying is, tell me how you're going to do this job. So as a planner, you will do, during the tender, you will do the initiation phase, all these initiation and plan, because you want to submit a tender. So you will sit with them. They will tell you, probably your company has done that job, a similar job like that before. They will tell you, we've done a similar job like this. This is how we did it. Can you, on a high level, can you just plan it out in sequence? These activities, we will do this, then we'll do this, then we'll do this, then we'll do the high level. So you get involved from that stage. You know, the project has not started. The contract has not even been awarded, but they could employ you. I worked in a company now, mentioned Baker Hughes. I was a tender planner in Baker Hughes. So solely, I wasn't in delivery. If the tender failed, that's the end of that project for me. I will start another tender. If the tender failed, if they didn't award the contract, I'll pick up another tender. There's somebody, you know, our marketing people has gone to talk to people and they say, oh, DG, we've got these. Can you develop a schedule for this tender? Then you will develop it based on the template they've got before. If there's no template, you will need to call a meeting, do a kind of kickoff meeting for tender. Everybody will sit down and they will think like initiation, how can we achieve this project? They'll first look, is this project worth it? Because every company has a markup. They might say, well, our markup is 20%. So if that markup won't work on that project, there's no need of bidding for that project. So at this stage, you get involved in every stage till the end. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Okay. So let's go to the project planning. So these, like we said, these as two sides to it. Two sides in the sense of, one, you will learn in this course, you will learn a planning skill. Then you will learn the software. So you need those two skills to be a good project planner. So it's not, you won't, if you learn just the software only and you don't understand the skill, the planning skill, how to wear the planning cap, then you will be called a software junkie. Software junkie are those people sit in the office in front of computer. They're not thinking. Whatever they tell them, that's what they do. And at the end of the day, you have no value. They can, like somebody said, I can go and bring my daughter that's just finished secondary school to do this, your job. And somebody was telling a planner like that. It was so embarrassing. So, but if you get involved, you understand the project from the initiation stage, you understand, you've read the contract document, because the sponsor or the owner of the project would have put what he wanted or what he wants. The end goal, the objectives and everything in that contract document. Your job, the first thing to do as a planner is for you to read that document. And that document has different sections. You don't need to read everything. Just go to the planning section, read it, know what they want, then understand the planning section. Then you can now read the whole thing at your own time, just to understand what the project is all about. So when you understand what the project is all about, what you'll be thinking ahead as well. And you'll be equipped with questions. You are not an expert, you are not a mechanical engineer, but you'll be equipped with questions to go to those guys and ask them some questions. And those guys, if they see you are asking the right question, they will give you the answer. And from there, you learn quickly. So, and that questions that you've asked at the beginning will help you to challenge them during the execution, because they want to outsmart you at that point. And they want to, they will not want to rubbish you, but because you have knowledge, then you'll be able to quickly counter them and tell them in a very collaborative way. That should be this should be that. And at the end of the day, they will agree with you. They will just smart. They are always like that, the engineers. So there are two aspects to planning, like I said, the planning skill and the software skill. So when you look at the software skill, we'll still talk about the planning skill, but that's what I've mentioned briefly. But the software skill, when you look at the software, it has, which I will show you how the software look like, the graphical user interface of the software. I'll show you at some point. It has what is called table, which gives the description of the activities that you're doing. Take, for example, digging a hole. That's an activity. But the other side is called Gantt chart. That gives you the illustration in a graphical way of what you've written in words, the description. So you have the description of what you want to do in sequence. You have some visual screen that shows you in bars what they will look like in bars. If someone doesn't want to see the whole of your description, just want to see the bar, the graphical illustration of what you are describing. They said a picture is more than 1,000 words. Some people prefer to see that than looking at your description. And in planning, in project planning, like I said yesterday, you need something to be able to achieve a project. You can plan a project. You can say, I'm going to get from here, I'm going to go to London, to Birmingham, but if you don't have a car, if you don't have a means of transportation, you're just joking. So you might do a beautiful drawing or plan, but if you don't have people, machines, money, you won't be able to achieve it. That's what it's called resources. So you need resources. When you're planning, you're thinking about resources, you're thinking about who is going to do the job, where would the money come from? I know you would have done that in the initiation and the planning stage, but when you are putting this thing in your software, someone needs to give you the rate. You need to gather all this. You would have gathered all this information during but you need to start putting them in the software. This is just the software side. So you need resources. And the resource can be human, which is called labor, can be non-human, which is non-labor, which is like equipment, machineries, and it could be what's called material or consumables, what you consume at once. You can't consume that again. But the labor and the non-labor they are reusable, but the other one is not reusable. So all these things, you'll be thinking about that. And like I said, the same thing, like you predefined your success, that project in planning, they would have predefined your KPI. Your key performance indicators would have said, okay, this is the way we want to measure our performance. If we get to this point, at this point with this money, then we are good. If we get to this point at this time with more money, we're not good. If we get to this point at this time with less money, we're good. So different KPIs, they would have set it from the ongoing, saying this is what we're going to be used to measure the progress of the plan. So as a planner, you will be thinking in the planning skill, you'll be thinking of rate. You'll be thinking of risk, assumptions, issues, and dependencies when you are thinking of when you want to develop a new plan. In that meeting that you go, the initiation meeting, as a planner, that should be in your head. What are the risks? You'll be looking out for the risk, because the risk will affect your plan. If there is a risk and is not mitigated or is not properly handled, can someone tell me the difference between risk and issue? Can anybody help me here? What's the difference between risk and issue?
I think the risk is something that might happen, then issue is something that has happened already.
Okay. Any other person? Thank you.
I think the risk is anything that has the chance of causing harm to a project. Why the issue is when the risk is not mitigated or controlled, it becomes an issue.
Okay, thank you. Thank you both. So, all these things that we are thinking about, they are events, right? So, like the first speaker said, risk is something that is potential, that if it happens, it will have an impact. It may have an impact, right? So an issue is when, like the last speaker said, when a risk is not managed properly, and it now evolves into issue, and issues are problem. When there is issue, there is a problem. Then we need to find a way to resolve it. So I won't go much into risk management, but I'll just mention what risk is all about, because that's, as a planner, you need to be thinking about that. Because if that risk is not well managed, it could, because as a planner, you are dealing with cost indirectly, but you are dealing with time directly. The time is in your cost, but the cost, you are helping the commercial manager to manage the cost. But the time, that is the timeline that is being given to you to make sure that timeline does not slip. You don't get delayed unnecessarily. So if there is a risk and it's not well managed and it happened, it will push your timeline to the right. Push your timeline out. If someone is said, I want to move into my house on Christmas Day, and you guys need to start building that house, and you guys are not considering the weather. You're not considering if when you are pouring concrete, it will start raining, because the season you've chosen to build a house is raining season. So that's a risk, because the day you wanted to pour a concrete, it might be raining seriously, like what happened in my company today. Today we were meant to do some jobs, but it rained heavily. Nobody could go on site to do any job. They were all in the cabin. So that was a risk that should have been, planned out for and mitigated against from the beginning. We would have said, okay, in the month of August, we thought everything would be sunny, but it could rain based on last year. Last year experience, it rained first week of August. So this time around, don't let us, what we can do in the rain, don't let us plan it for the first week in August. So we didn't consider that risk, and now, those guys were sitting down there, their money at the end of the day, we will need to pay them. And that's not good. As a project manager, you will not like it, because you're going to cost you money, and it's going to erode some of your profits, some of your profit margin. So that's the difference between risk. Because in an interview I've been asked before, and I was a JJC then, they asked me what's the difference between this kind of issue. And to be honest with you, I was struggling to answer that question. I struggled, not even that. And I struggled, but because, as God would have it, because I've done so well in other questions, I got the job. But now, that's why I'm saying they might ask you what's the difference between this kind of issue. So you should be able to differentiate that. This is risk, this is issue. So, and when you're managing risk, you manage risk, you manage issues. Both need to be mitigated against. So you manage risk. You first identify those risks. That's the risk management life cycle. You identify those risks, because if you don't identify them, how would you manage them? So you identify it, you analyze it, the impact. If it happens, what's going to be the impact? So if the impact is high or low, you see most in project, like you see what they call RAP, is red, amber, and green. They rate risk in that category. So they focus more on red, and green. Amber might turn to red. Red might turn to amber. That's why risk register is there, for you to put all the risk and rate the risk, categorize the risk into these categories, and make sure it's a live document that people manages on site. And at the end of it, once you've analyzed it, then you try and put solution to it. And the solution could be you mitigate it. You try, and mitigation is you just pushing the effect. So if it happens, it won't be that disastrous. So in some cases, you transfer the risk. So you can transfer the risk to third party, like the insurance company. You transfer the risk to insurance company if you can. So you transfer the risk. Sometimes, if you can, you can eliminate. If you can, if possible, you may be able to eliminate the risk by doing something. You just eliminate it. Sometimes, if you don't have any option, you live with the risk. You're just hoping it doesn't happen. It doesn't turn to issue. You just accept the risk. Okay, we can't do anything about this risk. You accept that risk and you let it go. If it happens, if it turns to issues, then you will now be thinking, okay, what would be the impact? So like some somebody mentioned force majeure, like the COVID. But we never envisaged COVID. It happened. What was the impact? You know, these are the things. Also, you must be a team player. You must be able to collaborate because you can't work. And when you go for an interview, the key words they're looking for is collaboration. Can you collaborate? Can you work? Because even if you're brilliant, if you can't work with people, then you won't be a good project planner because you need information. You're not an expert. You are an expert you are not an expert in all fields. So you need information. That is part of this planning skill. You need to be able to collaborate. You need to be able to communicate. You need to be able to manage. During your collaboration, you can collaborate with the commercial manager to help him manage the cost of the project. So, and your key one is planning and control. You are looking at the project, you are saying, you're monitoring, you're saying, okay, what we plan, are we doing it and all that? Then you'll be planning ahead and you'll be looking ahead. You'll be controlling, okay, we've not done this, when are we going to do it? Why have we not done it? You know, that's the challenging that you go on site or you speak to people what they're doing. So who is a project planner? You are a member of you are dedicated to a project team, right? So when you have a project team, in the project team, you have the commercial team, you have the supply chain or the procurement team, you have the engineering team, you have the logistic team, you have the PMO team, which you belongs to, right? So you have the engineering team. So all these works together to put a project to a successful delivery. So, but you are the cog in the wheel, you know, the cog, you know, the bar is in the wheel of a car. If the bar is broke, then the wheel will not turn. So, and that is you, because you would, as a project manager, he coordinates, but most of the information that he needs to get that project to successful, that he needs to look at and go to SMT and present his project, comes from you. He relies so much on you because what those guys, those top guys, they don't want to see, they don't want to one bit here. Can we see the schedule? Can we see where we are? Can you present the schedule? So can we see the impact? If this move, can we see? And that is what you will be doing. You will be supporting him, and also you will be doing check and balances, because project manager will go out there to tell the project sponsor everything is perfect. And the project sponsor, don't think about project sponsor as if it's somebody outside. That project sponsor can be within your company. It could be the program manager. It could be the program director that is a sponsor of that project. So they will come to you at some point. If they sniff anything that something is not going well, they will come to you and ask you a question. And you need to do what is good for yourself. You just need to protect yourself. If you've informed the project manager that this is what you're doing, I'll give you an example. I used to work in a company, and the project manager is so cocky. And I'll tell him something, he won't listen to me. He'll just go and do his own. And the project wasn't going very fine. And the commercial director, which is one of the top guys in my company, came to me. He said, this is what I think is going on this project, and I'm monitoring the cost. So I think we've almost eroded our margin. AJ, can we have a meeting? And I said, okay, fine. We went. I said, can I see your schedule? Can I see your resource profile and everything? and had to give him everything he needed. And at the end of the day, unfortunately, this project manager got sacked. So sometimes, if I don't do that, the project manager might go to a meeting and he will not take me along with him, and he will lie. He will tell them that I'm the one that is not doing what I need to do. So you just need to look after yourself. So come, so go. So you are the cog in the wheel when it comes to these projects. So planning. Take for example, you are going on holiday too. So you need all these activities for you to land where you're going. You need to plan out. If you don't plan your journey, it might be expensive at the end of it if you are doing last minute booking, though some last minute booking might be cheaper. But in most cases, if you plan the journey ahead of time, then you will get a bargain. So these are the things you will need to do to get to this point, to bask in the sun. You need to go to computer search, pack your stuff. If you're traveling away abroad, fly on it, get to the hotel, and do all that. I just put this thing. If you don't, at the end of the day, if you don't get, and you've worked yourself and you needed a holiday and you didn't get it, maybe everything was like that, that's what you're going to be. You're not going to enjoy that job if you don't go on holiday. So this is just to relax us. So this is where I would stop today. So I would explain this and I will stop at this point. This is the last slide, then we'll continue in the next class. So the purpose of planning a project. So somebody will ask you, in some organization, they will look at you as a planner. They will be asking, what do you do? They know what you do. They know your title. But they go, what you do? Because they don't even like to see your face. Because you're just a pain in the head for them. Because you are challenging them, what they would have taken their time to do. You're asking them, why are you running late? You are telling them, they don't really like you. They will just say, wow, what do you do? So why do you plan? The adage says, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So when you plan, it gives you that predictability. Based on your plan, based on your sequence and the logic you put in the activity, you can predict what is going to happen in the next 6 months. If there is no plan and they call a project manager, what do you think if this project gets delayed for 3 days? If this activity, or if we don't dig, or if you don't pour concrete in 2 days, if it rains, what is going to happen? Are we going to be late to deliver this project? The project manager will say, no, we should be fine. But where is the data? Where's the backup that you will be fine if you don't plan? So it gives you, but if you have a plan, you can tell whoever is asking, put the data, delay that thing for three days. If it's on the critical part, which we will talk next, delay that thing for 3 days. It will, if it's on the critical part, it's going to move the end date. Then you tell, oh, well, because we delayed this thing for 3 days, we were meant to hand over this key to the owner by the 24th of December so that I can move in, or 23rd, so that I can move in on 23rd and do Christmas, enjoy Christmas in his new house. But because they didn't pour concrete, because of heavy downpour, no concrete was poured, then there's a problem. That project, we won't be able to deliver it until the 27th of December. Then that will make them to sit upright and start making decisions. oh, what are we going to do? How are we going to mitigate this? How are we going to bring it back? Maybe there is what is called LGD, that liquidated damages, that the compensation you pay if you delay the project. And say, oh, the client said if you delay that project, for every day we'll be paying 13% of the cost price. So we can't afford that. So that planning gives the project predictability. You give them predictability. Critical path analysis, which we will do when I'll just mention these. So the critical path is the shortest duration by which a project can finish. So if you have a project that has some, take for example, some would define critical path as the longest path. I will tell you what that means, and some would define it as zero or negative flow. We will still, when we get into planning properly, when we get into the core planning on this course, we will discuss about that. But what this is telling you is you should be able to analyze where the dangers are, where the activities are very important and needs to get done. If they don't get them done, it will delay the project. You need to, when you said analyze, you need to identify all those activities that if take, for example, a project says it's gonna, let's say a project is gonna take 3 months. And in this project, they need a roofing sheet that would need to be, they're refurbishing a house. They need a roofing sheet that would need to be imported from China. And it's going to take 1.5 months for it to arrive. So automatically, that item is critical. Any delay to that item might delay the project. So because the project is just 3 months, and probably you need that thing after 6 weeks into that project. So, and that thing is going to take 6 weeks to come. So you need to order that thing by the beginning of that project. So, and if that thing doesn't come in 6 weeks' time, because you needed it in 6 weeks' time to be able to complete the rest of the project. So if it doesn't come in, then there's a problem. So you need to identify such item that this is critical. And when you talk about critical path, they are sequence of critical activity. They are sequence of very important activity that needs to be monitored. If they don't monitor them, if they get delayed, the project will get delayed. So we will talk about critical path later. Trend analysis. Trend analysis is just looking at the trend. If you have a project running for 9 months, the first 3 months, you can look at the trend. At the end of the first 3 months, you can look at the trend. What we've done in the last 3 months, what happened? Let's analyze what we've done, because we're going to do the similar thing in the next 3 months. So if the trend is telling you that you've not done well, then you need to re-strategize at that point. Re-strategizing is what you need to do to be able to make sure what happens in the last 3 months doesn't happen in the next 3 months. Because if anybody has heard, I don't know if anybody has heard about earned value management. Has anybody heard about that? Earned value management. So earned value management is one of the KPIs most organizations use in measuring the performance of their project. And what they do is like I said, they predefine the KPI. Say, okay, every 3 months, if project is 9 months, every 3 months, let's measure our performance against the baseline. What we've said, what we plan to do, let's check that did we earn what we've planned to do. At the end of the 3 months, we've done something. Yes, we've done something. What did we do? I gave you £10, right, to go and buy. I'm just using this analogy. I gave you £10 to go and buy some maybe tomatoes, and you went to the market. You came back, and I said, what's this? And he said, well, I bought this for £10. And I said, this only worth £5. This, no, they've scammed you. This is not £10. This only worth £5. So what you've earned tomatoes worth £5, even though you spent £10. That's what I'm just gonna touch that. I'm just gonna touch that briefly, but I'm still gonna teach you what the end value management is all about. So that's just and if you look at the trend analysis, you stop at the point you said, okay, let's evaluate what we've done so far, so that if it's good, then we can replicate it in the next 3 months. If it's not good, we need to change our strategy. That's what trend analysis is all about. We will talk about that later. Resource management. You need to manage your needs to go on holiday. He needs to go on holiday. They used to teach us something in secondary school where it said law of diminishing returns. If you get to a point, your productivity will just nosedive. So you need to manage that human being. You need to manage that resources. When you are managing resources, that planning helps you to manage resources. It helps you to know when this guy is going to be on holiday, when this guy is going to be available, the right skill set to do the job, when the machine that we want to go and hire will be available, when some people would have hired it, will return it, and we can have access. So it gives you that predictability and resource management to be able to manage your resources. And the risk and issue management, like I've said, when you plan very well, you would have identified risk, and you would have identified risk and the issues might be there already from the beginning. That this landowner that we want to use this land is very troublesome. I remember when I was living in Aberdeen, there's a guy. That guy, when Trump was buying every houses to do his golf course, that guy won't sell his land. And people have been telling Trump that this guy is very stubborn. He won't sell. And this guy, eventually he didn't sell. And what Trump did was, and the guy will go and bring something from scrapyard and start dumping it in front of his house just to make that place unpleasant for people that come to play golf. And being Trump, he just fenced him up. He just fenced his own land, but he raised the fence, and that man's house disappeared. That's the way he resolved it, because that guy is an issue already. So it's not a risk, it's an issue. They've told him. So he said, okay, how do I mitigate this issue? Okay, I'll fence everything around. I'll fence my land. I'm not fencing his house, but I've bought all the land around his house. I'll fence them out, and I'll fence them in. And that's what he did. So when you plan, it helps you to identify those risks and helps you to try and manage that risk proactively. Thank you. Any questions so far? Any question? Is Deji there? Hello? Deji?
Yeah, if I'm trying to unmute.
Excuse me, if I may ask.
Yes.
Okay, can I ask?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, if I may ask, so from all I can deduce so far, the project planner is like an employee of the organization, while the project manager is an outsider, like a contractor, confirm?
No. So a project manager, so this is how it works. In an organization, take for example, you are a car manufacturer. So you employ project manager, you may employ planner, or if you're an estate developer, so you will employ a project manager, you will employ a project planner. So when you win a project, right, when you win a contract, you will assign one of the project managers that you've employed to that project, and you will assign a team around him, and that team, part of the team, is a planner. You have engineers, you have supply chain manager or procurement or buyer, you have the commercial manager, and you have those teams that will surround him, that will help him to manage that project to a successful end. Does that answer your question? So it doesn't, they can contract a planner. A planner can be contracted. It could be a freelance, and a project manager can be a freelance. If you don't want to, if you don't want to employ them, if it's a short project that, oh, I don't want to employ people that will be paying pension, or I just want them to come and deliver this project and go. They could come from outside. You could employ them, but they're not an outsider. However, when it comes to a big project, you could have some people they call principal contractors. So what they have is, if you have a project, a big project, you could have the first person by law to appoint in writing is a principal designer. So you have the principal designer will get some, it could be like company like Jacob. Jacob is a big design house. It could be Jacobs. Jacob will say, okay, we've got this project, we need designers. It could be an in-house designer. If it's a big project, he could employ other designer to come and join him. But that company, Jacobs, for example, will be the one that is coordinating those other designer. And you have the client will appoint a principal contractor as well. That principal contractor could be any company, maybe Amy, and he will employ, if they're building a house, for example, he will employ bricklayer, carpenter, joiner as contractors. So in each of these, this principal contractor would have a project manager, while all other contractors, the contractor or the designer, could have project managers too, that they will be relating to each other. So it doesn't want to relate, the client doesn't want to relate with all these contractors. He wants to relate with the PM of his principal contractor or a principal designer. So you could have those PM at that level interacting with each other. You could call, okay, I'm a contractor, we have our own PM. There's a principal contractor we report to is an external PM. You understand? So you could have those kind of scenario. And in some cases, you only have the one, if you are doing the project within, you have a PM that is overseeing it. Does that answer your question?
Thank you.